welcome back to my channel. Today I am coming to give you guys an update on my last fibroid update video. I believe it was my 9-month update. I kind of told you guys like the next steps in regards to my husband and I trying to conceive, and just that I just didn't know what that road looked like, so I was going to start seeing a fertility specialist just to have some like baseline tests done, just to see, you know, kind of like what everything was. So I have an update for that. I'm gonna try to get through it without crying because it wasn't the greatest news. But I will say this, as I've kind of been transparent throughout this whole journey, and I haven't seen a lot of videos like this where people kind of update you after the fibroid surgery and kind of like how they've done with trying to conceive. I want to kind of make another series on my channel, and it's just going to be called TTC after fibroids, so trying to conceive after fibroids, just to give you guys you know, some more transparency into the process, because like I said, that is my next step. So if you guys have been following me, you know, and if you haven't, get caught up. I have a whole playlist called All Things Fibroids. So if you have been following me, you know that I told you guys that my doctor did not want my husband and I to try for until a year was up. So I am coming upon that year. June 20th will be a year after my fibroid surgery I had in 2018. And so prior to, you know, even trying, although we have been trying but not trying since like December because I stopped taking birth control and we haven't been using protection, I wanted to go and kind of see, you know, how everything was. I was talking to a coworker and she was telling me kind of like her story and everything, and she's like, it can't hurt just to know, you know, without, you know, having, you know, making assumptions and everything. Sometimes it's just good to know, you know, kind of like what you're working with, in a lack of a better word. So I went to a fertility specialist. I think my appointment with him was in early April. It was before my husband and I went to Turks and Caicos. So early April, I went to see the fertility specialist, and it was just a consultation, and he just wanted to, you know my medical history and kind of like what my goal was and all of that. So I updated him and I gave him, you know, my records or whatever. He saw, you know, that I had a very invasive myomectomy surgery back in June, and so he was like, okay, we want to see what's going on down there in your uterus. So he ordered an HSG test. And if you guys are not familiar with an HSG test, what that is when they insert the dye in your uterus to see if there are any blockage in your fallopian tubes. So I went maybe like 2 weeks later. Oh, you have to do that test. The thing about that test is you have to do it during a certain time in your cycle, right? So I had to let them know like on day 1 of my cycle, because they come and schedule you between like days 6 and 11 of your cycle. I can't remember what the reason was. I think it was so that you don't have any chance of getting pregnant, so you're not like ovulating during that time. So they schedule you to come in during days 6 to 11 to come in for the test. So I went in for the exam. I was very, very, very nervous because, mind you, I haven't had anything done really down there since my surgery in June. I mean, of course, I've gone and gotten like a pap smear and checkups and everything after that, but this was like a surgical procedure because I had to go to like their surgical center. It was like not like where they like cut you or anything, but, you know, it was kind of, you know, mildly invasive or whatever. So I went in. The people there were really, really nice. They really, you know, helped put you at ease. They told you a lot about the process, what you can expect to experience, feel, and all of that. So I felt very comfortable, but yet I was still nervous. And so what happens is they take you in the room and you're placed on a table, very similar to how you would go if you went and got like a pap smear, and they put like a pillow under your bottom to kind of elevate you, and then you just have your legs up. I know some places have stirrups, but the place I didn't have stirrups. I just had my legs kind of like up. And she kind of went through and told me every step that she was doing. So first she inserted the spectrum, you know, I think it's spectrum, spectrum, whatever. The thing they do when they give you the pap smear, it's the same kind of thing to open your vaginal, you know, the opening of your vagina or whatever. So they insert that in you, and then she puts a catheter in there. And I didn't feel anything when she was doing that, so she did the spectrum thingy. That felt like normal, like it would when I went to when I go to my GYN. And then she put the catheter in there, and the catheter has, I think, an iodine dye. And what it does is when they insert the dye into the vagina, it goes into the uterus, and then they can see it through x-ray machine, because they have you lying flat with your, you know, legs elevated, but then they have like the x-ray machine over your abdominal area. So as they're inserting the dye, they can look on the monitor and see kind of like where the dye is going. So she's like inserting the dye, and she's telling me what she's doing. I didn't really feel anything uncomfortable. It was just normal, you know, how it felt when you went in for like a checkup with your doctor, with your GYN. And then she was like telling me what she was doing. So she showed me the screen, and she was like, on the screen you can see there is your fallopian tube. So she said you can see the left tube, and you see the dye spilling back out of the left tube. And then she was like, this is the right tube, and you don't see anything coming out. She was like, I want to try to push some more dye in there, because another thing about my HSG test that was a little different is that because my uterus is you know, large, because I have so many fibroids, it's not the normal size uterus, it took more dye for her to put in me. So she was like, okay, well, I'm going to insert some more dye because your uterus is, you know, enlarged slightly because of the fibroids. I'm going to insert some more dye and see if that can get things moving on the right side. So she inserted some more dye, and I can just feel it, and then I started to feel pressure. And I told her, I said, okay, it's feeling a little bit uncomfortable. And she was like, okay, we're not going to force it. It looks like your right tube is blocked. Your left tube is functioning fine, but it does look like your right tube is blocked. So after that, after she told me that, I mean, I don't know how I really felt about it. Like, I can't say that I was terribly surprised. I mean, I've been going through processes, like, hopefully optimistic, but it was still daunting. I mean, I know I had a lot of surgery done, so I'm not surprised that it's blocked. But it was just still, you hope for the best or whatever. So my right tube is blocked. After the procedure, I just went, wiped up and everything, and just left. And they let you know that you may have a little bit of spotting from the procedure, and you may see some of the dye come out. It's like a brownish color. No, she said the dye was clear, but you would maybe have some spotting, which I did, but very, very, very like penny liner like spotting is what I had. Some people experience cramping. I did not. I was not surprised that I didn't experience cramping, because I don't normally have cramps. So I didn't have any cramping or anything after that, and I honestly felt fine for the rest of the day. I didn't need to take any pain relievers because I didn't have cramping. I maybe spotted a few hours afterwards, and then that was it, and then nothing else. The next day they called and checked on me to just kind of see how everything was and how I was feeling, and which I thought was very nice. And I told them everything was fine. I didn't have any more spotting going on, and I wasn't cramping or anything, so it wasn't anything abnormal. And so that was it. And they were like, well, the person who's doing the ultrasound kind of talk with you during the ultrasound, but you do have to wait for the official results from your doctor. And so the nurse's office for my doctor maybe called me 2 weeks later to give me an update and basically tell me what I already knew about the right tube being blocked or whatever. So that was that. Also, when I went in for that HSG test, I gave blood. So they did a genetic screening on me to just kind of see if I have any genetic diseases that could possibly transfer to the baby if my husband was also a carrier. So those are things like spina bifida, sickle cell, and things of that nature. So they tested me for that, and then they also just, I guess, took regular like blood work or whatever. The next step was for my husband to go in and get his semen analysis done, as well as his blood work. So he did that maybe a week or two after me. And then after all of the blood work and everything was in, we had a meeting scheduled with the doctor, both my husband and I, which was like our second consultation. And that was, we just had that this last Monday. So I'm going to give you guys an update from that meeting as well. So in that meeting, the doctor kind of goes over everything that he's reviewed as a result of like our testing. So the HSG test, he discussed with me first, which I already knew. about the right tube blockage. He did have a good thing to say about that test, in the fact that he said that my uterine cavity didn't look like it had any scar tissue, and it didn't look abnormal. Of course, it was enlarged, which he said he would expect because of the fibroids, but other than that, it was a normal looking uterine cavity, so that was a plus. But there is still the issue of the right tube being blocked. So I only have one functioning fallopian tube. So then the other thing he talked about is my husband's semen analysis, which everything is good there. All his results came back well. He was like, "You're firing bullets." He told my husband that. I thought that was funny. And so all that, his results were fine. And, you know, the morphology, which is like the shape of the sperm, was fine. And so all of that was, you know, good news for him. Then the doctor went on to say, he was like, "Danielle, I'm a little concerned." And so no one ever wants to hear the doctor say that, right? Like, come on, okay, just come out with it. The whole build up to just, you know, tell me whatever. So in addition to the surgery, I already know that's a given, the blocked right tube, according to the results of like some of the blood work they did of like my hormone levels, I have a very low AMH level, and I'll put that like the whole name and then the acronym somewhere on here. So I have a very low AMH level, and what the AMH level shows or tells them is basically your ovarian reserve. So how many eggs do I have sitting in the bank, for, you know, for lack of a better word. So because my AMH is low, so according to him, I'm 35, so he would expect to see an AMH of 1 or higher for me because of my age. And my AMH is 0.42. So a little less than half of what I should be having, showing or whatever. So that was a lot to take in that day, and it was, you know, I just felt a way about it. It's like the whole thing, if it's not one thing, it's another, you know, and I don't know. I knew going through this process was not going to be easy. Don't get me wrong. Like, I've had enough discussions with people. I'm actually blessed to have 2 people I know, close coworkers, friends who I know who actually have gone through the IVF process recently, and have kind of been like updating me about the process and kind of the things you go through. And, you know, I'm not surprised. Well, you know, I am surprised. I'm not surprised about the block tube, but I am surprised about the AMH. Just because I just never thought that would be, you know, an issue for me. So of course, you know, and whenever you get news, you go and kind of Google and do your own research. At least that's what I do. So I went that day and started Googling to see if maybe my low AMH was tied to fibroids, and they don't have any conclusive evidence that shows that that's the case, because there are people with fibroids who have high AMHs. So I don't know if that's necessarily an issue. I did ask my doctor. I was like, well, I don't have a 28-day cycle. My cycle is generally 22 to 23 days, meaning I ovulate more frequently than the average woman. My cycle has been like that since I was 23, 24, when I, you know, noticed the, you know, the change in the length of my cycle, and it's been that way since then. And so I told him that as well. He was like, well, that just seems to be your natural cycle. And I don't know if you guys remember when I was saying about my last update video, I don't know if I went into details about this, but when I was on the birth control, you know, birth controls kind of regulate your cycle, and they make it that 28-day cycle, because you're not having a true cycle. You know, your body is getting pumped with these hormones to make you think, you know, you're pregnant, so that you don't you know, ovulate or whatever. But after I got off the birth control, my cycle came back like that, and it was my normal, you know, 22 to 23 day cycle. And I've been tracking my cycle since January, since I got off of the birth control, and it's been the same amount of time. So I say that to say that I don't know if it's tied to, you know, my cycle length or anything. I asked the doctor, he couldn't tell me. So I don't know why I have a low AMH. They do say it does vary depending on the timing and when they took the blood work, so it could change, but it wouldn't change drastically or whatever. So with me having a low AMH, the doctor was like, well, I wouldn't even waste your time with IUI. So I am definitely a candidate for infertility treatment because of that, and because of the block tube. So he's kind of left it in my husband and I's kind of ballpark to kind of figure out what we want to do, what our next steps are. Yes, I've been doing like all of like the discussions and stuff just to kind of pumping myself with as much knowledge as I can, because IVF is expensive. If you know, or if you've been following me, I kind of planned for this possible outcome, because before I had my surgery, my doctor was very candid and told me, you know, the outcomes of the surgery and what it could do for my chances to conceive naturally. So I do have insurance coverage through my job that does cover a portion of the treatment, but then, you know, it doesn't cover 100%. So a portion of the treatment will have to be paid by my husband and I. So it's a lot of stuff to take in, to decipher. The doctor was like, oh yeah, you know, ideally we want to start with your next cycle. Not gonna happen. It's like, I just need a little bit more time to deliberate about this, and I don't know when I'm going to push the button. I don't really know 100% what direction I want to go in. The reason why, let me take a step back. The reason why he said that he would recommend going straight to IVF and not wasting time and money with IUI is because with IUI, one, because my low AMH, I would have to take higher dosage of medication. Because essentially I would need more to get the ovaries, you know, going or whatever. And then on top of that, with having the block 2, they will have to ensure that there is activity every month, or whenever they try to go in for the IUI, activity going on my left tube in order for me, you know, to get pregnant, because, you know, some months you don't ovulate from both tubes every month. And then with me having such a low reserve, I'm probably just ovulating, you know, dropping 1 egg a month. So it's just a lot of different factors that goes into that. With IUI, he was like, well, I don't know if I would necessarily even waste your time with trying to go the route of IUI, just because you just have some, you know, more circumstances that seems to point in the direction of you, you know, needing to go to directly to IVF. So, yeah, that's what we're at. So that's the information we got from him. Like I said, I'm just trying to make the best informed decision for myself and my family, my husband and I, to see how we want to proceed. I have good days and I have bad days about all of this information. I've told my family members, just because I'm not one of those people that like to suffer in silence. I mean, I kind of want people who I love to kind of know what I have going on. It's just kind of like how I roll. I don't like to put on fake, you know, faces like, oh, all is good. If, you know, I'm not in a good mood, I'm not in a good mood. And because of that, I have kind of been down lately. Some days I'm okay and some days not so much. Today is a not so good day, but yet I still wanted to record this because I've been slacking overall with YouTube. And I'm trying to get back on my normal schedule. And this is a lot to update you guys about. So I wanted to come on today and kind of get this video filmed and kind of out there. So yeah, I don't know why today is a bad day. It's one of those things, and I was like trying to explain it to a friend where I was like, it's not so much of a woe it's me type of situation, you know. It's like, oh gosh, you know, people can have babies naturally and it's just fine, and, you know, their life is just fine. It's not so much woe it's me situation. It's just very hard to decipher, very hard to know that you want something that is not easily attainable. I think that's just human nature, you know. If you want something that you can't have, or it's not going to be, and I shouldn't say can't have, because, you know, I could get pregnant just, you know, and move on or whatever. Not move on. I could get pregnant eventually, but I'm just saying to know that the additional hoops and circles you have to go through to achieve that. And again, like I said, my doctor was very transparent with me about the process, and so I didn't go into this blindly, but again, I was still hopefully optimistic that this would not be the outcome. But it's not looking like that. On a brighter side, it's like to be able to have the conversation of IVF as an option. I feel like that is truly a blessing. I know that not everyone is in that same situation, so I don't take that for granted either. So what I've tried to do on a daily is look on the brighter side of all of this, you know, and try to find some kind of light in all of it. It's just a lot to kind of decipher and kind of take in. And so I'm also extending grace to myself to feel what I need to feel. I'm not going to brush it off like, oh, you know, all is well, and it's not, you know. So yeah, that's where we are in this journey. I think that I am going to definitely make this series on my channel. I just don't know how often I'll come on and do videos about it, just because I feel like it's harder to do those updates when you're going through them. For me, it's like I just would rather like go through the process and then come back and fill you guys in. So they may not be like up to date, like, you know, oh, I did this today, or oh, we did this today, or we did transfer today, or, you know, whatever. They may just be a little bit more spaced out, but I will come on and update you guys, just because I believe in the need for the transparency in regards to this issue. I don't see a lot of footage on YouTube where people are discussing, you know, okay, I had a myomectomy, and then this is what happened when I tried to conceive. And it's so funny because, again, I've been having conversations with people who were like, oh yeah, I've had 2 myomectomy surgeries, and oh yeah, I tried to conceive and I couldn't. And it's just, you know, just sharing that information and just kind of knowing what other people are going through could sometimes help the next person. So but yeah, that's it. So consider you guys updated. I will be back in June to do my year update. June 20th makes a year, and I'm trying to get back to my regular YouTube videos, so just bear with me. All right, thanks guys, thanks so much for watching. Please comment, like, subscribe, share with friends and family as you see fit. Again, I love engaging with you guys, so if you have any questions, please leave them down below. All right, bye.